In this episode, I'm joined by Keith Robinson, co-CEO of Next Home, as we dive into how AI is reshaping real estate. We talk about balancing tech with the human touch, creating space to experiment, and why creativity and connection matter more than ever. If you're curious about the future of our industry with AI, you won't want to miss this. Tune in. Are you a real estate agent eager to unlock the power of AI to boost your productivity and scale your business? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Real Estate AI Flash, the weekly podcast that takes AI from a buzzword to a business tool, making it approachable and actionable for agents like you. I'm your host, Rajiv Sajja, and each week I interview agents from across the country who are using AI to transform their careers. Join us on this journey to become an AI skilled agent and take your real estate career to the next level. Now let's get to this episode. Welcome to another episode of Real Estate AI Flash. Today
I feel like I've made it.
Well, I don't know about that, Keith. I think I've made it.
Nonsense.
Today my guest is Keith Robinson, who's the co-CEO of Next Home. With over 25 years in the real estate industry, he co-hosts a very popular pod, which I'm sure we'll get into, Real Estate Insider's Unfiltered podcast. And on that podcast, he's known as Crazy Uncle Keith.
That's right.
Alongside James Dwiggins, they discuss industry trends and insights. It's a go-to podcast for me and for many in the industry to keep you up to date on all things real estate. Welcome, Keith, to the pod.
Thanks for having me. Thank you for the kind words about our podcast. We are proud of it, and it's a fun project to work on. But I've been an ardent follower of your podcast as well. I'm our resident AI nerd inside our company. And I find your podcast to be invaluable. So thank you for the work you do.
Kind words. Yeah, we're trying to make it approachable and actionable for real estate agents. And
Absolutely.
And I've been in the industry for 20 plus years, and agents are amazing people connectors, may not be as amazing with tech.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And move them along with
the language that I use for that is they are brilliant humanists. They really are brilliant humanists. But most, and I am one of these as well, I'm not a techno guru. We're at best average technologists. So not shocking that when it comes to technology, we're, as an industry, we tend to kind of want to look at it for a little bit before we figure out how to implement it. But, you know, I maybe we'll start with this. AI is a real thing. It's here. It is not going anywhere. In my opinion, it is the next internet. That is the last time we've had an evolution, technology evolution. I don't really believe in revolutions, but I'll call it a significant evolutionary step in technology. And it's saying you don't want to do AI is sort of like saying you don't want to be on the internet in the year 2000, right?
For sure.
You just can't say it anymore. It's here. Yeah.
And I gave you like a 20-second introduction for a 2-decade plus career. So
good.
If you don't mind, just walk us through your background experience. You've done a lot of things and into your new role at co-CEO at Next Home.
Thanks. Yeah. I guess it's been 26 years-ish, something like that. Started in dining rooms, conference rooms, and living rooms, just like most of the people probably listening. Loved residential real estate sales. Enjoyed every minute of it. Found I missed, and this is a long time ago. This is before the sort of teamification of residential real estate was a thing, and there wasn't really a blueprint. Keller Williams had kind of a blueprint for how to do it, but I found I missed building small to medium sized businesses, which is what I'd done before residential real estate. So I ended up going down the leadership track. Keller Williams heard about some of the success I had with an independent here in Berkeley and Oakland, California, where I'm from originally. And I was the number 4 leadership hire for KW in Northern California, built some offices for them, did a real estate investment services firm for a while that was really fun, heavy data centric on identifying emerging markets across the US and then hand selecting assets for high net worth people in Northern California. Super fun. Loved every second of it until 2008. And then you couldn't get financing on anything, not to mention out of state investment property, right?
Yeah.
Then I ran what was at the time the 19th largest real estate company, Better Homes and Gardens, Mason McDuffie. I led them through the downturn, and then did some consulting after that for a little while. Took 18 months to just kind of take a breath, and ended up at Next Home with my friend James Dwiggins and the rest of the senior management team, and been here for the last decade.
Yeah, wow. And you have a good run. So I'm sure we'll get into some of that background as well. So obviously this is an AI podcast.
Yeah.
I'd love to kind of dig into your first light bulb moment with AI. And we've seen a lot of fads in technology, like come and
so
go,
many
under stuff.
Yeah.
So what was your first light bulb moment?
You know, it was It's more of a dimmer switch for me than a light bulb moment. I'm pretty smart, but not a brilliant technologist like yourself, right? Like, and so for me, maybe it's because I went to college in Missouri, which is the show me state. I had to like play with it, and
Yeah.
I needed to decide for myself as the one of the leaders of the company that we run. Is this the next hype cycle, like the metaverse, or
Yeah.
is this a real thing? And this is kind of a long answer. Sorry, but
No, take your time.
I decide I've done fix and flip and ground up construction my whole life ever since I've been in residential real estate. You know, sometimes I'll do a project a year, sometimes I'll do 3 or 4, but I'm always dabbling in that space. And I decided that was a really safe place to build an AI bot. A couple friends of mine own an AI shop in Sarasota, and I reached out to them and said, "Hey, can you help me build a bot that will do outreach for aged inventory?" So think about, if you've ever worked with a flipper, there's certain key things you look for always on the MLS, and then you reach out to those agents and you sort of get permission to write a lowball offer, right? Like I
Right.
work with
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
investor. Yeah. So that felt like a really safe place for me to go play. And if the AI made me look like an idiot, it was a sort of contained environment, wouldn't harm the company that I run on a day-to-day basis because it's not going out into the wild with agents. So it felt like a really safe place. They had an online lead follow-up bot. So they did already have a bot that was good at talking to purchase leads about properties.
Yeah.
So it was easy to retrain. I just had to teach it how to talk to agents about their listing properties, right? So took that bot that they had, retrained it for a couple weeks, downloaded some properties that have been on the market for 60 days or more, and just sent it off into the wild to see what would happen. And the reason I say dimmer switch is I had to go through all that to get to my light bulb. After the first day of the text going out, I immediately went from skeptic to convert. And my bot was having great conversations with real estate agents, giving me tons of information. And I went from having to make these 40 phone calls to clearly identifying the 5 agents that would be interested in getting an offer for my investment company.
Yeah.
And we wrote the offers and off they went, and none of them got accepted. But the next week we had another 40 that we pushed through. And now it's a regular system that we use to identify and secure fix and flip and ground up construction projects in Northern California. And
I've heard that pod with
yeah,
you and AI guys,
yeah.
and that's where, and I got your story there, and they're really good people, those two.
They're great. Shout out. Maybe we can link. We'll link.
We'll put a link in the show notes for sure.
Yeah. And for me, it's kind of one of those things where once I saw it in real action and the quality of the conversation and how it, people would try to trick it and they'd be like, or they would just maybe have a typo that was was not perfect, and it could just handle it. It could handle it really well. Was it perfect? No. But neither, if I hired someone to send all those texts, they wouldn't be perfect either, right?
Right.
They would. I guarantee you, if I hired someone fresh off the street, they'd be worse than this AI bot was at having these conversations. And now we're looking at projects all the time. So
yeah, for sure. And what's interesting there is, I think many of our listeners, Keith, the difference between you and I and many of our listeners is that we've had series of light bulb moments.
Correct. Yeah.
So we know what's possible. So we're more curious.
Yeah. I think what I would encourage anyone who's listening, right? Like you're probably at a minimum, you're using Chat GPT to write your, maybe clean up an email or write a property description. And that's a fine place to start. But you're not really experiencing the power of AI when you do that. Yeah. It's about, the first thing I had to decide was, where am I comfortable letting and playing, and what piece of my business is a sandbox where I'm willing to let AI go do its thing. And if it makes a mess or I hate it or it doesn't work, it doesn't crater my business or have massive downside ramifications, right?
Yeah.
If the worst thing that happened is 40 texts went out to real estate agents and I look like a dumbass in front of 40 real estate agents, I can recover from that, right? I can recover from that. So usually when I'm talking to people about it, it's about, find a small little sliver of your business that you feel comfortable letting AI do some work for you. Maybe it's as dumb as scanning your receipts and totaling it up for your accountant. Okay, fine. Yeah. Start somewhere super dumb. For example, for our company, we had our national convention I guess it was last week. Feels like
NOLA.
2 weeks. Yeah, we were in New Orleans. We had a great time. Well, we built Nexi, which is an AI bot, a conference AI bot. That it was just answering all the questions that, what time does tomorrow start? What's the dress code for the happy hour? Find me buyers. I'm working with buyers. Are there any buyer breakouts today?
Yeah.
And it did wonderful. It did great. One guy asked it out, which was hilarious, right? Wanted to know if she was single. But that's a really safe place where not everyone in my company is gung ho as on AI as I am. And so I have to find these little pools where they can have an experience. And then to your point, you have this experience where you're like, okay, dang, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
What else could I do? You and I are at the what else could I do with this?
Yeah.
But for anybody listening who hasn't started yet, find a safe place in your business to play.
Yeah, no question about it, Keith. I mean, I've been tracking my use of AI in specific things. Our roles are different. I mean, anytime we sit in front of a computer, I've basically asked the question, can AI help me with this? What I'm about to do?
Right.
And I've realized that 30% improvement in my productivity pre-AI versus post. And I think I'm still pushing the envelope. I'm not an expert by no means. I'm like a power user.
Yeah, you're somewhere between power user and expert. I think you're being a little too humble there. But
I mean, we're on a journey. I mean, you don't know what's possible, right? So there's always like that piece of it. So that's a good call out. I mean, I think finding areas of your business that are low or no risk.
Yes.
Having an AI playground, I think is a great place to start.
Yeah.
And you trust it more. And sometimes it's going to fall flat on its face.
It makes mistakes. And and you don't start with an AI bot that's going to talk to your sphere of influence. That's a terrible idea, right? Don't start there.
Don't do that.
You've probably got 100 leads or 200 leads or maybe 2,000 leads that are sitting over that you're not working anymore. Well, go push those through an AI bot, a lead incubator bot. There's tons of them out there. I'm sure you have some. I know some. You're welcome to email me. But push those 200 leads you aren't following up with anyway, and maybe it squeezes an appointment out for you. There's your first experience. But find a safe playground for you to play in.
So interesting you mentioned that. We're doing a little test at a company level.
Yeah.
But I tell agents, calling services from AI are coming. They're already here. You start to discover them.
Yeah, really close.
So, yeah, we have an iPhone app. It's not Android yet, but I'm sure it's coming. I'm having their CEO come on our pod in a couple of weeks here.
Yep.
Called Simple AI. It's a personal assistant.
Yep.
And I had it schedule my call up to 4 spas in my area and schedule a pedicure for me. Connected my Google Calendar, and it did it, and I didn't make the call.
Right.
So we've done stuff like that. So, but to your point, we're taking a bunch of leads that we got from our website years ago,
right?
That we don't have the manpower to follow up because for some reason they were inactive, or in lead game they were marked dead.
Yep.
Right. And
or you
AI call them and see if they can warm them up.
Or more importantly, you didn't mark them dead, and they pop up all the time, and then you just snooze them for another month, right?
True.
And like you have some area of your lead flow where you have dropped the ball. Everyone does. I did too when I was selling. It's not a judgment. So take those again, whether it's leads or whatever. We're working on behind the scenes open house AI bot, right?
Yeah.
That does some post visit follow up to strengthen the connectivity between the agent and the person. We're working on a bot that will. I have a franchise, so we're a franchise delivery system. We have a national franchise real estate operation, and the FDD is like a 150-page document that my vice president of sales has to go over with candidates every single time.
Yeah.
Well, I can build a bot to answer those questions. Maybe not as fun as she answers them because she's phenomenal at what she does, but absolutely with the specificity that she answers them. And if you take, if she's got 10 prospects that she's talking to and it takes a half an hour, well, that's 5 hours out of a month that she can go be with her kids or, maybe sell another franchise. That's my personal favorite. But whatever it frees her up to go do those more dollar productive activities.
100%. Yeah. So, we're living in an AI powered world.
Yes.
And everybody's using AI at some level. Some using it like you can recognize quality of output. Yeah. And I tell people, you're using AI well when nobody knows you're using AI.
That's facts. Yeah, that's a great way. It's a great way to describe it.
That's the journey we're on. But somewhere in here, our business is still human.
Definitely.
right? And how does one balance like the human touch and leverage AI in their workflows?
Yeah.
Based on
That's a good question, which I will answer. I'll start with I don't lose too much sleep over that. I lose more sleep of agents not doing it because their default is no one can do it like I can, and especially AI can't, right? There's no way AI could do what I do. Now, that's probably true in some instances. I promise I'm actually going to answer your question, but I'm more worried about people not plugging it in and falling behind and losing market share than I am about people plugging it in wrong. So I'll start there.
Yeah.
And then there's definitely the find the safe sandbox thing. You got to test. The other thing that I always talk to people about is for some reason when AI makes them, maybe it's because we've all seen the movies where AI is perfect, right? And so when AI makes a mistake, we freak out and we just are like, see, turn it off. I can't do this. Well, sorry, I hate to break it to you if you're listening, but you make mistakes sometimes too, dear listener, right?
Exactly.
And when you hire someone, they make mistakes sometimes too, dear listener. So think of it like a new hire, right? That's the best lens to look at it through. Is I just hired a brand new person, and probably on their first day, they're not going to be as good on their 151st day. But imagine you hired someone that would read everything you sent them, would study everything you asked it to. It never got in a fight with its significant other. It's not ever been hungover in the morning, right? Like that's the employee you just hired. And if you can put in the investment, the key is in the training to answer your question directly.
100%.
Spend time in training until you're comfortable. And everyone's level might be different. I'm a little more comfortable with go fast break stuff. I'm a little more comfortable with looking like a moron because
fail forward fast.
Yeah, that's I'm okay with that. I understand and respect. Many people I know, respect and love, don't operate that way. Well, that means you're going to test longer, and you're going to want to ask it more edge questions and have it make mistakes in that private area where you're letting it play. But don't not do it because you're worried about it. You just have to test more. You can find that safe place to play, build it until it feels like it's functional, and then let it out into the wild slowly. And then what happens, every single person that I have helped with this sort of ingestion of AI or this sort of acclimation to AI, almost immediately after launching it, they shift, which you touched on earlier, which I think is a beautiful point, which is you shift from like this sort of, I don't know about AI to what could AI do today, right? What could AI do? I'm about to do this task. Could AI do it for me? I have a friend who I'm doing some mentorship with him, and I'm a member of the board and of his company. And, he's starting a content company where he's got one bot that'll get headlines for regional and national news. Then he's got another script writing bot that'll write the scripts in 3 voices with a hook and a call to action. And it all just shows up in your inbox, right? Shout out Brooks Landry. I love what you're building. It's really special, right? So now he's like, well, can we do AI? Can we use AI for this? I'm like, well, slow down. Get a few clients first, Brooks. Get some revenue coming in, right? But now he's just an AI, like he's crazier than I am. He's like, no, we'll just build a bot for that. I'm like, okay, someday, yes, right? And that seems to be what happens to most people once they get over that initial sort of fear fantasy of AI and what it is and what it could be.
Yeah, very good take there. I think, one of the things I tell agents is look at the places where you're spending time, and then things that drain your energy in this business.
Yeah.
And there are tasks that we all want to do, but that we can't do it because we don't have the help or skill. And kind of put all this stuff on a sheet of paper, and the tasks that you don't want to do, that Be Curious and AI probably can help you there.
Yeah.
So you can make real estate fun again.
Yeah.
And kind of live in the revenue generating activities, the last mile, I call it, with clients.
That is where we will end. And look, whoever's listening, like whether you get there in the next 6 minutes, 6 days, or 6 years, you'll end up there.
Yeah.
It's just a question of how much market share do you want to lose between the time now and when you get there? Because that's where this is headed. Period. End of story. Full stop. And the AI empowered agent will take business from the un-AI empowered agent up until the point at which that agent gets AI empowered.
Yeah.
So you take as long as you want. You tell me how financially secure you are, and then I'll tell you how much runway you've got. But
Right. Yeah, for
but
sure.
but we're headed to the human. I believe the currency in this next evolution of business will be creativity. That's the currency of this next, because it no longer is going to be you need to hire 4 programmers and this and that and the other thing to try something fun or crazy or creative.
Yeah.
You're going to have a bot that will probably be able to do most things for you at scale with speed.
Yeah.
So if those creative thinking AI empowered agents are just going to win market share, it's not going to be the end of the industry in 3 years. It's not going to be this. I don't believe in revolutions. I believe in evolutions, but this is going to be a big evolutionary leap.
Yeah.
And it's going to leave
100%.
some people behind.
Yeah, and you touched on it a little bit about internet and phone earlier.
Yeah.
And the analogy I give people is we've been coming from the internet age with mobile phone,
Mm-hmm.
I mean information age from mobile, internet, now to the intelligence age.
Yeah.
And we all have
Yeah.
access to this intelligence. We just don't have the skill yet to use the intelligence for our benefit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. A life quote that I've used a lot. My kids roll their eyes every time I say it, right? But the quality of your life is based off the quality of questions you ask. And that is about to be true, like by multiples, right?
100%.
Because
That's a good one.
if you can stay that really curious person and then use AI as a leverager of that curiosity and to go test things and test ideas,
Yeah.
those people are going to win more market share over time.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I think 2025, I think we're still early in this journey, but
Super
the
early.
speed is accelerating.
Yeah,
And
the analogy that I usually, and I'm old, I'm 53, right? So I'm crusty, right? But trust me, kids.
That's young for real estate.
So kids who are listening, you don't know what AOL is, okay? But I do. And I remember the time where, because I know people who are like, well, great, it helps me write property flyers, like whoopee. Why is AI such a big deal, right? Well, I usually remind them, because usually the people saying that are my age. I remember waiting overnight to download a photo on AOL. Right,
Ooh.
you would start the download before you go to bed. You would pray like God no one picked up the phone because it would kick you off AOL, right? And then in the morning you might be able to download a photo of whatever you were trying to download. It'll be there, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's where we are with AI. Like we're in the overnight downloading photo phase of AI, yet you want to measure it based off of that. That is not where this is stopping. That is just where this is starting.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good analogy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know we're seeing a lot of talk about AI agents. Like you touched on it a little bit, the bot on the website, cultivating leads and certain niches.
Yeah.
How does an agent approach building agents for themselves, or a brokerage leader that is listening to our pod? How do they power up their agents with agentic build out? So I know you're doing some work on this area, so it'd be a good thing to kind of finish the pod with.
Yeah. One bifurcation, just because, and this is not great for our industry. The vernacular, which you're familiar with, is we call this agentic workforce, or we call a bot an agent, right? And so I think sometimes our industry hears that and thinks, you're saying I'm going to be replaced. Like you're going to make a real estate agent bot. That is not what we mean. We mean, that's why I call them bots instead of agents, because I find it to be a little more. Yeah, I don't want anybody in my company freaking out that I think they're all going to be replaced by a computer, because I don't think they will be. Not soon. Not in near term lifetimes. So when we say agent, we mean bot, right? And then I tend to think of the areas in which my agents know they should be doing the work, but they aren't. And then how can I benefit them by having a bot that will do that work for them? And I guess if any of one in my company, this is something I'm considering. We may not roll this out. Please don't email me saying, when are we going to get this? Okay. Because this is in its early formative phases. But I know when I was an agent, I had a stack of leads that I knew I should get to, but I never did. Right. And so just giving you an example.
Yeah.
I think this, not sphere of influence, but that sort of neglected lead that I don't follow up with, that's a perfect use case for AI. AI will follow up with that. It can have those introductory conversations. It never feels rejected, and it will drive it to the appointment with the real estate professional. So we're working on building that at scale. So any agent who wants to in my company can just feed it to this lead. Like, I'm done with this one. Give it to the lead follow-up bot, and I'll let that work it until it comes back to me.
Yeah.
I also, this we're not currently thinking about how to work on, but you mentioned voice is getting there. I don't think voice is quite there to sell. Like it can't make the outbound call yet, though I think it will be in months, not
Yeah,
years, right?
months.
It's very close. But a great use case is, an AI assistant where you're just calling it with the rundown at the end of the day or at the end of an appointment. Hey, here are the three things. Can you get this into my calendar? I need to follow
Yeah,
up with so and so. Sort of, I go to a notes page on my phone and I keep a little running like, I got to think about that, or I have an idea for my Substack, or right, and I sort of scribble them all down in one spot, and then when it's time to write, I go back and look, right. So, and a voice AI where you just have someone that you're talking to about it. Um, it's so hard to answer the question because it's so unlimited, right?
yeah.
The scope of work, which is why I try to look for someone's going to build. It won't be me, might be you, won't be me. Someone's going to build this sort of, I don't know, AGI, right? Like, so I think we get also distracted with what is AI? Because it's a bunch of different things, right?
Yeah.
When your Netflix says you might like this, that's AI. It's just a real sort of low key AI, right?
Ah.
Most people think when we talk AI, we mean artificial general intelligence, where we all have our Iron Man had Jarvis, right? And
Yes.
give me my Jarvis. Where's my Jarvis, right? We're not there yet. OpenAI and other companies are trying to crack that code. Fine. Someday they'll roll it out. I can't wait. It'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Between here and there, you're going to have tools that you use today that are adding AI into it, or people are building AI tools that will sit on top of it.
Yeah.
And that is where I think you're going to experience AI for right now. So think about a problem in your business that you'd like to solve. Start with one that you're okay with it being silly and making mistakes and you're not risking your career or your reputation on it. Go wade into that pool a little bit and see what happens. And again, every person that I've taken through that sort of AI journey, before they get too deep into the pool, they're trying to figure out all sorts. Then it becomes what can't it do, not what can it do.
100%. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's a great takeaway. To your point about AI agents, when we use that word, and
Yeah.
I appreciate the clarification.
Yeah.
We launched a mastermind at where I work, and
Uh-huh.
I'm doing like live sessions
Yeah.
training them how to use AI. And I had to pick a name for this series.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go with AI agent mastermind to basically dodge that. So I
Yeah.
flipped words. I said agent AI
Yeah. There
mastermind.
you go. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I'm glad you clarified that because
Yeah.
agents, the human touch is that's what our business is all about. You know, it's like,
Yeah. In a weird way, it really excites me.
yeah,
Meaning, if we can get the industry to a place, or our companies, mine,
yeah,
if I can get my company to the place where my agents spend most of their day using that incredibly high emotional IQ to shepherd people through one of the most stressful transactions of their
100%.
life. And that's what they spend most of their day doing. We're going to win, right? Whatever companies, agents, offices that end up there, those are the ones who win.
Yeah,
And you're using AI to tools, bots, whatever you want to call them, to support around that.
100%.
And I've said for a long time and believe it really deeply, the human connection between a human being who buys or sells a property and their residential real estate professional is the most defensible position for our industry. So whenever I look at all these threats to the industry and, Rocket just bought Redfin and
Yeah,
whatever else, fine, do your thing. But I'm going to compete at the relationship between the residential real estate professional and their client. And
yeah,
that's where I'm going to build protective. That's where I'm going to fight to the last stand. That is where you can use military analogy if you want,
yeah,
but that relationship is sacrosanct, and no one understands the depth of that relationship when they're outside the industry. And that is the most defensible position for our business. And that is where I'm trying to build AI moats and, all the other protections that I can in and around that human relationship.
yeah, 100%. You know, I've always been saying as this AI journey took off, is like use AI to automate the ordinary stuff that you do.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I know it can do extraordinary things, but
Sure.
it'll give you the gift of time so you can actually go deep into this personalizations, the relationships to build the extraordinary stuff, you know?
Even if all you start with is, instead of going to chat GPT when you think of it, just keep it up like you do a Google app, right? You
100%.
always have Google just up and ready if you need it.
Yeah.
I'll give you a dumb one. Like business partner James and we're working on something for the company. We had to talk to a RESPA attorney, and
Yeah.
we had 20 pages. If I were to print them, it would have been 20 pages of emails. James fires off, "Hey, can you summarize this real quick?" I was like, "No, bro, I can't. That's 20 pages." But slammed it into Chat GPT, gave me a 90% of the way there good update. James doesn't even know this. I just sent it over like I did all the work. So hopefully he doesn't listen to this pod. I'm going to get a sternly worded email. But it took this thing that probably would have taken me 2 hours to do. And
time.
It did it all for me in 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes. I mean, literally under a minute once I uploaded it all. And then I had to go through and edit it, which took me about 15 minutes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think you answered this last two questions I asked my guests, like agents or brokers recommend integrated AI strategy. I think we dug into it. You listening to your podcast, I know you're a big fan of books.
Yes.
You devour them.
Yes.
But I know this is going to be a tough question because I don't know if you can pick one that has influenced you the most in your career that people should read that are listening to the pod. What would that be? The book or pod?
Not AI related?
It could be anything.
Yeah. Probably the Stoic Challenge has been the most impactful book for me. I've been a studier of Stoic philosophy for a long time now. And it's a little dense and opaque and sometimes can be perceived as negative. The Stoic Challenge is a primer if you're curious about Stoic philosophy as a life modality.
Oh, wow.
It's still not super accessible, but it's more accessible than a lot, don't go read Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. It wasn't meant to be a book for everyone, and it was written a long time ago and is dense. And the Stoic Challenge for me is...
Yeah, I made a note of it.
I reread it every year. It's a great book.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to give a shout out to your pod. How long have you had the podcast? And just talk about your podcast.
Yeah, I guess we've had it for maybe a year and a half. I don't know. I think we're coming up on 200 episodes.
Oh, wow. Nice. Yeah.
Another one of those... James and I started it. I'd love to tell you we had this grand plan and we knew the industry had a void. And it was kind of there in the back of our minds, but also too, we just wanted an hour a week to have some fun and jump on and talk and get good guests on and ask good questions. And so it's an industry facing pod. We have had most of the C-level executives of not every, but a majority of the residential real estate operators. We try to give them a safe place to come and talk and share and ask some thoughtful questions and try to identify through lines of success in residential real estate. It's, you do this thing when you're building something, right? And you get these marketing guys, and I love them, and you need them, and like, well, tell us what you want people to feel. I don't know. Right. And the best we could come up with is every time you go to a conference, you always have a great time in the conference, but some of the best conversations are at the bar after, right? Some of the best conversations because people's guards are down, they're longer form, maybe a cocktail or two has changed hands. And we wanted our podcast to be like the bar conversations at your major real estate conventions. And turns out, I guess there's a need or a demand for or an audience for that. And we've had some real success and it's been fun. It's been a fun project.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you both taking that hour. I think it adds tremendous value.
Yeah.
I'm an avid fan of your podcast.
Thank you so much for listening.
Keeps up. I mean, there's so much news coming. Keeps up with good conversation. Hence the word also unfiltered.
That's right. Yeah. And the other fun project, I guess, if we're doing the what has Keith been working on, I started a Substack this year. I wanted to get my writing practice sort of beefed up. It's something I've flirted with in the past, and it's sort of my primer for maybe writing a book someday, but I needed to determine if I could actually have a consistent writing practice. So Substack is a pretty good follow, and I'm looking to grow that this year.
Yeah, we'll include the link in the show notes for Keith's Substack as well. So
awesome.
Well, Keith, this has been fun. I appreciate you taking the time to jump on, and I love your work. Keep up the good work, and I look forward to seeing you at Summit next month.
Can't wait to be at the summit next month. And same to you, man. Your podcast is really must listen for anyone who wants to start to get functional at AI. You have great guests. You have great thought processes and approaches around it. So thanks for doing the good work for the industry.
Yeah, no, we all need to kind of shepherd our people.
That's right.
So.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah,
keep doing the good work.
Appreciate jumping on, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.
You made it to the end. Nice. My goal with this podcast is to elevate your AI skills every week. If you found value in the show, your goal is to follow, share with a fellow agent, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and leave us a review, as it helps us reach more agents like you.